I was 32. The kind of person who alphabetized her spice rack and paid credit cards before the due date. Order calmed me. Numbers made sense. People, especially family, never did. It was an ordinary Tuesday in downtown Portland. The office was quiet except for the hum of vending machines and the faint rain against the window. I was halfway through a cold turkey sandwich when my phone buzzed. Dad's name lit the screen, followed by words that sliced straight through the normal rhythm of the day. "We're cutting all ties. Don't come around ever again." At first, I thought it was a mistake, a message meant for someone else. Then the gray typing bubble blinked once and disappeared. No follow-up, just silence. A second notification flashed. My brother Caleb had reacted with a heart, the same emoji he used when Mom sent pictures of the dog wearing a Christmas sweater. I stared at it until the edges of the room felt unreal, like the air had thickened. My hands moved before my brain caught up. I typed slowly, deliberately. "I'll pull my name from all loans tomorrow." The words looked cleaner than they felt sharp. Surgical. Final. I locked the phone and sat still while the vending machine hummed beside me. The world outside the glass wall kept moving, people walking, buses hissing, someone laughing too loudly on the sidewalk. By midnight, the family chat had exploded, messages in all caps, missed calls stacking like warnings. I didn't answer any of them. I left the phone face down on the table and watched the rain collect along the window ledge. That was the last quiet moment before everything I'd built to keep them safe began to come undone. I grew up believing my father's favorite phrase, "We're just one job away from stability, from a real vacation, from the version of life he kept promising my mother." Martin Whitmore's contracting business was small but ambitious, a garage operation dressed up in optimism. Every setback had an excuse: bad weather, a supplier delay, a client who changed specs at the last minute. He never ran out of reasons, only of money. My mother, Elaine, had a gift for turning guilt into persuasion. Her voice was soft, trembling in all the right places. "We just need a little help. Honey, you know how hard your father works." By the time I was 19, those words were as familiar as my own name. Caleb was the golden one, 3 years older. Easy grin, quick ideas that never lasted. He tried real estate, app development, even a custom surfboard brand, despite living nowhere near the ocean. Mom called him creative. Dad called him the future. I called him expensive. When I got my first steady job after college, Dad handed me a stack of papers. "It's just a formality," he said, tapping the signature line, "a small secured line of credit, so we can expand the business. You won't even notice." I signed, trusting him. Then came another document for Caleb's truck, another for home repairs, and eventually a second mortgage to hold us over. Each time, the same reassurance: temporary, necessary, family. By the time I was 28, my credit report looked like a group project I hadn't volunteered for. But on Sundays, when we sat around the dining table with pot roast and polite laughter, outsiders would say, "The Whitmores are such a close family." I smiled, slicing bread, pretending not to hear the truth behind it, because closeness, in our house, had always been measured in debt. 2 days before my father's text, my phone buzzed while I was brushing my teeth before bed. A credit monitoring alert glowed on the screen. New loan inquiry detected $80,000 business purpose. I blinked at the number, convinced it had to be a system error. I hadn't applied for anything in over a year. By the time the second alert arrived, application under review, my stomach had gone cold. I opened my laptop, logged in, and there it was, my full name. Social Security number listed under a new commercial line of credit. Rain started against the window, slow at first, then heavier. Without thinking, I grabbed my keys. The drive to my parents' house in Beaverton took 30 minutes, but that night it felt longer. The wipers scraped rhythmically across the glass, the same pattern I used to hear as a kid when Dad drove us home from late-night jobs. The porch light was on. It was always left for Caleb, never for me. Mom opened the door in her robe, that trained smile already in place. "Clara, sweetheart, You should have called. Inside. The TV cast a pale light over Dad's recliner. He barely looked up. Caleb sat on the couch scrolling through his phone. I held up my screen. $80,000. Taken under my name. Want to explain that Mom blinked, performing confusion. Oh, honey, your father just needed an extension for the business. The business that's been failing for 5 years, I said. Dad's jaw tightened. Watch your tone. This family needed you. You're good with money. You can handle it. You mean I can handle your mess? Caleb finally looked up, smirking. You're being dramatic. It's not like we're strangers. I stared at him. No, Caleb. You share blood. I share debt. The room went still. The TV hummed. Mom's eyes glistened, her voice trembling on cue. We've sacrificed everything for you. I laughed once, sharp, brittle. No, you've spent everything. I just paid the bills. Dad stood, voice rising, but I was already backing toward the door. That was the night I understood something final. Family and fraud could wear the same face. And I was done pretending not to see it. The next morning, the world looked cleaner, sharper, like rain had rinsed the color back into everything. I brewed coffee, sat at my kitchen table, and opened my laptop. My hands shook only once. The first call was to the bank. I waded through the static music, reading the script I'd written on a sticky note unauthorized account. Possible identity misuse. The woman on the line was polite but distant, her voice trained to sound calm in the face of panic. She confirmed what I already knew: the loan was active, the documents digitally signed under my name. After hanging up, I opened 3 new tabs and filed fraud alerts with every credit bureau. Each form asked the same question. Do you wish to freeze all credit activity under this identity? I checked yes 3 times. A small word, but it felt like reclaiming oxygen. Then I wrote to Dana, an old friend from college who'd gone into law. Need guidance on removing myself from unauthorized business loans. I typed, documents attached, no drama, just facts. Her reply came within the hour. We can fix this, step by step. Don't call them. Don't sign anything else. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in years. By noon, I was at my office downtown, surrounded by the hum of printers and the low murmur of coworkers. The mechanical rhythm soothed me, the sound of order returning. I printed out every record, highlighted signature lines, made neat folders labeled bank, credit bureau, legal. Each page that slid from the printer felt like cutting another invisible thread. Mateo, the data analyst across from me, peeked over the cubicle wall. Rough morning, I smiled faintly. Just fixing some paperwork. He tilted his head. You look lighter. Yeah, I said, sliding another page into the folder. I think I finally stopped drowning. The printer whirred again. Steady as a heartbeat. For once. It didn't sound like work, it sounded like freedom. Measured line by line. In black ink and white paper. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of Portland rain that never really stops, just softens, lingers, waits. I was still in my robe, coffee steaming in one hand, when the buzzer sounded twice. 2 short, impatient rings. Through the peephole, I saw Caleb first. His blazer was wrinkled, hair damp. That familiar salesman smile already rehearsed. Behind him stood Mom, clutching a folder like it might break the spell between us, and Dad, jaw tight, eyes red, rain dripping off his coat. I opened the door halfway. You shouldn't be here. Caleb laughed lightly. The sound brittle. Relax. We just want to talk. Dad's voice cut in. We can't fix anything if you keep shutting us out. I stepped back just enough to meet their eyes. Fix what? The forged loan. The lies or the years you called it love every time you needed my credit. Mom's voice trembled. Right on cue. Sweetheart, your father was angry. We all were. Families fight. But this. She lifted the folder. This isn't how we solve things. Rain tapped the metal railing outside. Steady, patient. Leo appeared behind me, barefoot, calm as ever. You need to leave, he said quietly. Dad ignored him, gaze locked on me. You think you're better than us now? You're destroying your own family. I felt the words land where they used to hurt, but not anymore. You're right. Caleb, I said finally, I did love saving you. I built my life around fixing what you broke, but heroes stop showing up when they realize the people they're saving are the villains. Caleb's smirk faltered. Mom's eyes widened, as if she hadn't expected me to say it out loud. Dad took a step forward. This isn't over. Clara, you'll regret humiliating us. My voice stayed steady. The only thing I regret is not walking away sooner. I closed the door before any of them could reply. The latch clicked a small, final sound that echoed through the apartment like a gavel striking wood. On the other side, I could still hear the rain and the faint rustle of them retreating. Inside, the silence wasn't empty. It was earned. By Monday morning, my inbox was a minefield. 3 new emails sat stacked like warnings, all from a firm I'd never heard of. Miller and Hastings Legal Group. The subject lines carried the same cold rhythm, notice of potential liability. Urgent cosigner inquiry. Immediate response required. The body text was written in the kind of language meant to sound like law but smell like fear. Failure to engage may constitute breach of cosigner responsibility. Prompt cooperation is advised to avoid legal escalation. I read them twice. Then once more. Slower, feeling the familiar prickle of panic crawl up my neck. The documents attached were formatted to intimidate watermarks. Citations. Bold warnings, but the numbers didn't match any legitimate case files. I forwarded everything to Dana with a single line, new tactic. Please review. Her reply came 20 minutes later, calm and sharp as always. Don't worry, it's a bluff. The release paperwork you signed is airtight. They're trying to scare you back into compliance. Do not respond. The air in my apartment felt lighter just reading her words. I deleted the emails, emptied the trash folder, and leaned back in my chair. Then the voicemails began. My mother's voice first sweet, trembling. You'll regret this. Clara, we raised you better than this. And then Dad, shorter, colder. You think you've won something you haven't. You're still one of us whether you like it or not. I listened once, then hit delete. No, I thought, you didn't raise me better. You trained me to be collateral. That night, Leo came home smelling faintly of sawdust and rain. He set down his work bag, noticed the unopened bottle of cheap red wine on the counter, and raised an eyebrow. Good news. Just confirmation, I said, pouring 2 glasses. He handed me one, his thumb brushing mine. To the end of chaos, he said. I smiled, the glass cool against my palm. To the beginning of peace. Outside, rain ticked softly against the window. Inside, the silence between us felt stronger than any threat. It started small, a text from my cousin, Allison, who I hadn't spoken to in years. Hey, your mom's worried. She says you're going through something. You okay? I stared at the screen, realizing what it really meant. The family narrative had shifted. The new story was already being told. By noon, 3 more messages arrived. One from an old neighbor. Your dad says you've been acting unstable. Everyone's praying for you. Then a Facebook tag from a church friend. Thinking of the Whitmores during this difficult time. Difficult for who? I wondered. I didn't respond to any of them. I just scrolled, read, and blocked. One by one, names from my past disappeared like ghosts I'd finally stopped feeding. That night, Leo found me at my desk changing passwords. They're getting creative, I said, half a laugh in my throat. Emails from unknown addresses. Fake sympathy, fake concern. He leaned on the doorframe, calm as always. They're trying to rewrite the story because they lost the plot. His words hit something deep. That was exactly what it was, a rewrite. The moment they couldn't control my money, they tried to control my image. I installed new security software, added identity theft protection, logged every contact attempt in a spreadsheet labeled Evidence Family Communications. Dana had taught me that organization was a kind of armor. By the end of the week, even the silence from them felt deliberate. The smear had done its round. Now came the waiting, the hope that I'd break and crawl back to defend myself. But I didn't. Instead, I went for long walks along the Willamette River after work, phone on airplane mode. The city lights rippled across the water, clean and quiet. They could talk, twist, rewrite, but every story they spread only made me more invisible to the version of me they used to control. For the first time, I understood that silence wasn't surrender. It was language, and in that language, I was finally fluent. By late spring, the calls had stopped. Weeks passed without a whisper from anyone bearing my last name. For the first time in years, my life ran on schedule bills paid, work steady, mornings calm. Then, one afternoon, as I was finishing a report, an email alert slid across my screen with a subject line that froze me. Property listing 1840 Ridgeway Drive. It was my parents' address. Curiosity overrode instinct. I clicked. The listing was brutally honest, foreclosure pending. Photos showed the living room where I'd once done homework, now stripped bare, wallpaper curling at the edges. The Whitmore construction sign still leaning against the garage. I waited for the guilt to hit, but what arrived instead was something quieter, a memory of years spent patching holes I didn't make. That evening, another email arrived. This one from Mom. Your father's health is failing. We just need a little help to get back on our feet. You're all we have left. The old reflex came fast. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, already drafting an answer, already calculating what I could afford to send. Then I stopped. I read the message again, slower this time. The words help and left glowed like traps. I opened a new tab instead, searched for a local nonprofit I'd once heard Dana mention, a fund that supported women recovering from financial abuse. Their donation page was simple. The suggested amount was almost identical to the number Mom had asked for. I entered it, clicked confirm, and typed a subject line in the receipt email to myself, reallocation complete. The guilt didn't return. What came instead was something steadier, a kind of clarity that didn't need applause. For the first time, compassion didn't mean rescue, it just meant release. Spring settled over Portland like a quiet apology. Mornings came earlier now, light spilling through the curtains and laying soft gold across the floorboards. My apartment, the one I'd chosen myself, smelled like coffee and clean air from the river below. The world outside moved without asking anything from me. Bills paid themselves. The credit alerts that once made my pulse race had turned into silent confirmations. No new activity. No surprises. Peace felt strange at first, almost suspicious, like a silence too good to trust. But day after day, it stayed. Leo had started cooking breakfast on weekends, humming off-key as he flipped pancakes. The sound had replaced the tension I used to wake up to the kind that hummed through my phone even in sleep. We talked about maybe buying a house one day. Not a big one, just something with windows facing east, close enough to walk to the river. He smiled when he said it, teasing. We'll build it on your credit, your name. The words made me laugh, but the truth in them landed deep. My name, my credit, my foundation. That afternoon, while cleaning the drawer where I kept old files, I found the silver pen Dad once gave me, the one I'd used to sign every co-signed loan, every temporary favor. It still wrote smoothly when I tested it on a scrap of paper. The ink came out dark, confident. I placed it in a small wooden box, locked it, and slid it to the back of the closet. Outside, the river glimmered in the late sun, and a warm breeze slipped through the open window. I poured another cup of coffee and let the quiet settle. The kind that didn't feel empty anymore. Freedom, I realized, could be this simple, something you don't chase, just live inside of. The city stretched quiet beneath the window, bridges lit like faint constellations over the dark sweep of the Willamette. The kind of night where Portland held its breath, no sirens, no rain, Just the hum of faraway traffic and the low rhythm of Leo washing dishes in the kitchen. I sat on the couch with my laptop open, the blue glow soft against the walls. My inbox was nearly empty, my bills scheduled, my name finally mine again. It should have felt ordinary. Instead, it felt sacred. Leo came over and sat beside me, his arm resting lightly on the back of the couch. "Do you ever miss them?" he asked. The question hung in the air for a moment. I thought about birthdays filled with tension disguised as celebration, about dinners where silence was the only honesty we shared. "I miss who I tried to be for them," I said quietly, "but I don't miss them." He nodded. No pity in his eyes, only understanding. We didn't speak for a while. The city outside flickered softly, and the reflection of the bridge lights shimmered across the glass like distant heartbeats. My phone lay face down on the coffee table. I picked it up, thumb hovering over the old family group chat still titled Team Whitmore. The message history stretched years back, reminders, guilt, jokes that had once been safe territory. I scrolled once, then pressed delete conversation. The screen went blank. A single moment of silence I could almost hear. "Sometimes peace costs everything you thought was love," I whispered. Leo reached over, his fingers brushing mine. "But it's worth it." Outside, the lights kept pulsing across the bridges, steady and alive. I exhaled, long and quiet, and for the first time, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like breath returning,